few years ago, a friend and I decided to camp on the edges of the Salar de Coipasa in Bolivia. Unlike the famous Uyuni salt flats, Copasa is almost never visited, just endless white ground stretching under a wide, empty sky. We hiked in for hours from the nearest village, carrying tents, water, and some food. By late afternoon, we found a small ridge where the salt met a patch of dry grass, perfect for a tiny campfire. That night, after eating, we noticed something strange. Footprints, not ours. They came from the flat expanse and stopped just at our camp. We hadn't seen anyone else for hours. We called out. No response. No sound. Only the faint wind shifting salt crystals. Later, we heard a scraping sound, like metal dragged across rock, coming from the flat below. We grabbed our flashlight and walked toward it. Nothing. No footprints beyond the ones we had seen. The ground was smooth, untouched. We stayed awake the rest of the night, taking turns watching the horizon. By morning, the prints were gone. No explanation. No other travelers. Just us, the salt flats, and the memory of movement that couldn't have been human, and yet had to be. A friend and I went camping in a remote forest near the Putorana Plateau in northern Siberia. The area is almost completely uninhabited. No trails, no roads, just endless taiga and rivers. We hiked in for 2 days, carrying supplies for a 3-night stay. On the first evening, we found a small clearing by a frozen stream. We pitched our tents and started a small fire. The silence was overwhelming. Nothing but the wind through the large trees and the occasional snap of ice on the stream. Around 10 p.m. we heard movement. Not animals. Footsteps, deliberate, moving along the edge of the clearing. We shined flashlights, but saw nothing. Then we heard voices. Quiet, in Russian, low murmurs. At first, we thought maybe hunters had passed by, but the area was too remote and there had been no signs of anyone else. We stayed in the tent, whispering, trying to make sense of it. The voices stopped after about 15 minutes, but the footsteps continued, circling the clearing several times before fading completely. The next morning, we went to explore. There was no evidence anyone had been near. No footprints, no broken branches, no fire remnants. Nothing. The forest looked untouched, as if the previous night's events had been a hallucination. In August 2016, I went camping with 2 friends on the edge of a small remote lake in northern Madagascar. We'd been hiking all day through dense rainforest, looking for a quiet place to set up camp. By late afternoon, we found a small clearing with soft soil and a few palm trees. Perfect spot. That night, after cooking dinner over a small fire, we heard something strange. Low, guttural growls coming from the edge of the lake. At first, we thought it might be a crocodile, but it wasn't water. The growls came from the shoreline, moving through the reeds. Curious and nervous, we shined flashlights toward the sound. For a moment, we saw something, not quite an animal I recognized. It was roughly the size of a large dog, but its limbs were unusually long, and it moved in a strange, jerky gait, almost like it was testing each step. Its eyes reflected our light, glowing bright orange. We froze. It didn't approach aggressively. It just watched us, staying mostly in the reeds. Then it disappeared, slipping into the shadows so fast it was hard to track. We didn't sleep that night. Every rustle in the forest felt like it was circling us. By morning, there were tracks in the mud along the lake, long, thin, almost like a human hand, but clearly made by something quadrupedal. No fur, no claws, nothing that matched any animal we knew. I I went camping with two friends in the highlands of Papua New Guinea. We had trekked for hours through dense jungle to reach a small clearing near a narrow river. The air was thick with humidity, and by late afternoon, we set up our tents and a small fire. Around 9 p.m., we started hearing something unusual. It wasn't birds or insects. It was a series of loud, high-pitched howls echoing through the valley. At first, we thought it was a local tribe's ritual or some kind of monkey, but the sound was different. Almost human-like in cadence, but clearly not. Curious and scared, we shined our flashlights toward the riverbank. In the shadows, something moved. Large, covered in matted fur, hunched over in a way no normal animal should move. It didn't approach, but it didn't retreat either. It stayed just beyond the light, making those same long, drawn-out howls every few minutes. We whispered to each other, debating whether to wake the others or stay quiet. The sound circled us slowly, like it was studying the campsite. When we finally fell asleep in shifts, the creature never left. The howls continued all night, fading occasionally, but returning just as suddenly. By morning, there were no footprints leading away, no broken foliage, just the faint scent of wet fur and the memory of eyes glinting in the torchlight. We packed quickly and didn't speak much on the way back. None of us knew exactly what we saw, but it was unlike any animal we had ever encountered. Even years later, I think about that night. It wasn't a ghost or a hallucination. It was alive, intelligent, and aware of us.